Our next question revolves around the Second Amendment. Efforts have been made to prohibit the possession of firearms by people who have been placed on the FBI's secret terrorist screening database. And while this sounds like a reasonable thing, being a secret terrorist database, people have been placed on this watch list without any valid reason and without their knowledge. Citizens can be put on this list based on guidelines that the FBI doesn't have to publish, and that there is no way to correct the error for being on this list. What is your response to this kind of action by the federal government to limit the availability of firearms to people who don't even know they're on the list? And also, what kind of role would you fulfill as safeguarding our Second Amendment rights as a senator?
You know that if you served in the military, are a Christian, and you've been involved in a Tea Party, that you're considered domestic terrorist by Homeland Security? Do you know that? This is a crazy time that we're living in. You know, the Second Amendment, everybody got their handy-dandy pocket constitution? The Second Amendment is a Second Amendment for the reason it keeps us free. It's the teeth to all the other amendments. Our founding fathers knew that. They weren't talking about deer hunting or shooting clay pigeons for sport. They were talking about protecting their families, their properties, and the republic. You must be very leery of any man or woman who stands there that is looking to go represent you in Congress, who talks about messing with your guns and your right to protect your family, and the right to protect your property, and the right to protect our republic. Second Amendment is a Second Amendment for a reason. It keeps us free. As soon as it's gone, there's no more freedom.
I agree with Richard, but I'm not sure he answered the question. What will we do as legislators to protect Second Amendment rights? First of all, let me tell you, I'm a proud member of the NRA. Like I told you, I grew up on a small farm. Who I am is who I am, not because of politics. I never intended to get involved in the political process. I've spent most of my life hunting with my father and then my sons. I'm not a good hunter myself. I'd rather play golf, but my boys are gun crazy. If you were to go into their bedroom, you'd think one day they were going to go postal. That's how many toy guns they have. And we have a lot of fun. Now, can I just say this real quick about what you mentioned? Janet Napolitano and Barack Obama do not view terrorism the way we view terrorism. You know, we know who the terrorists are, don't we? We know who the enemy is. You know, unfortunately, they consider many of us to be the enemy. What a shame that it's come to that in the United States of America. Therefore, we have a mindset on Capitol Hill that we're the problem. We're not the problem, ladies and gentlemen, we're the solution. Now, what will I do as a legislator? I would vote against any piece of legislation that would prohibit you from the right to bear arms. As Richard mentioned, the Second Amendment right is one of our basic rights. When we talk about the amendments, let me just remind you that many of them, and some purists of the Constitution would like to do away with a lot of the amendments. Remember that those amendments were put in there, most of them, to give us more freedom. And I would not vote for any piece of legislation that would violate the Second Amendment or hinder your ability to write and bear arms. I think the Brady Bill was a bad piece of legislation. I'm disappointed in Ambassador Coates that he voted for it.
Well, let me share with you real quick what I've done and what I would like to do and what I think should be done. As a state representative in 2005, along with several of my colleagues, we passed the lifetime handgun permits, the first lifetime handgun permit in the country. And if you have a little pink slip in your pocket, like I do, you can carry a handgun for the rest of your life, because I believe that the Second Amendment is one of the most important amendments in the Constitution, and that's to protect the right to bear arms. Second of all, we just got done passing legislation that will protect, if you do have a permit, that your personal information is protected from the media, that they cannot just publicize that because it's public information. And so I think that that's also an important piece of legislation that we just passed here at the states. One of the things that I think is important that we haven't talked about much, but probably will a little bit more, is also states' rights. And when we get into that issue of states' rights, I've offered, we carried an amendment last year that would respect the state sovereignty of each state and respecting and asking the federal government to respect the 10th Amendment. When we get to the federal level, I think that there have been bills that have passed, including the Brady gun control bill and the assault weapons ban that have been voted for by previous senators that are running now. But I think we need to start looking at how do we protect people and allow people to take on that personal responsibility. The bad guys are going to always get the guns. They're going to break the law. They don't care. We have to allow good people to have guns that will protect those who don't, such as U.S. Marshals and those who are in our law enforcement. Protect those rights for those people, and then those things will take care of themselves.